Commander Veltar floated in the observation chamber of his cloaked ship, watching the blue planet below through the transparent aluminum viewport. Earth looked peaceful from this distance, but the Kethvar knew better than to trust appearances. For 43 years his people had been watching these humans, and what they saw both fascinated and worried them. The humans had been busy, very busy. When the Confederation first discovered Earth, the planet's dominant species was still using chemical rockets to barely escape their own atmosphere. Now they had colonies on their moon, mining operations on nearby asteroids, and were planning missions to the red planet they called Mars. Most concerning of all, 3 months ago, they had achieved faster-than-light communication. "Sir," called out Navigator Kethros from his station, "the Council's message has arrived." Veltar turned from the viewport, his elongated form graceful despite the ship's artificial gravity. The Kethvar were tall and thin, with pale blue skin that seemed, to shimmer in certain light. Their large dark eyes had evolved for their home planet's dim sun, making Earth's bright star almost painful to look at directly. "Display it," Veltar commanded. The holographic message appeared in the center of the chamber. High Counselor Ethamara's image flickered to life, her ancient features stern as always. "Commander Veltar, the Council has reached a decision regarding the human situation. You are authorized to make first contact." Veltar's heart skipped a beat. Both of them. The Kethvar cardiovascular system was more complex than human anatomy, but the emotional response was similar. "However," the message continued, "you are to follow Protocol 7, reveal only basic technologies. Under no circumstances are you to expose our quantum warp capabilities or any classified Confederation technology. These humans have shown dangerous speed in their technological advancement. We must be cautious." The message ended, leaving Veltar alone with his thoughts. Protocol 7 meant deception. They would approach the humans with their oldest, least efficient ships. They would pretend their advanced quantum warp drives didn't exist. They would lie. He didn't like it, but he understood the reasoning. The Confederation had encountered 17 different species over the past 1,000 years. Most had taken centuries to advance from basic spaceflight to interstellar capability. Humans had done it in less than 200 years. Such rapid progress made the Council nervous. Meanwhile, on Luna Station, Dr. Kim Dae-ho was having trouble sleeping. It wasn't unusual for him. Working in low gravity often disrupted human sleep patterns. But tonight was different. Tonight, the long-range sensors were picking up something impossible. Kim was one of Earth's leading astrophysicists, specializing in exotic matter and theoretical faster-than-light travel. He had spent his entire career studying the possibility of meeting other intelligent life. Now at age 52, it seemed his dream might finally come true. "Computer display sensor log 7749 alpha," he said to the empty laboratory. The holographic display showed what had been bothering him for the past 6 hours. There was something out there about 3 million kilometers from Earth that was bending light in ways that shouldn't be possible. Not a lot, just enough to be detected by Luna Station's most sensitive instruments. It was as if something invisible was sitting in space, occasionally revealing itself through tiny gravitational distortions. Kim's hands shook as he recorded his observations. If he was right, if this was what he thought it was, then everything was about to change. On Earth, Park Hee-jin was already awake when the emergency communication came through. As head of Earth's First Contact Protocol Division, she had trained for this moment her entire career. The division had been created 20 years ago, when Earth's governments finally admitted that contact with alien intelligence was not a matter of if, but when. "Ma'am," her assistant's voice crackled through the secure channel, "we're getting reports from Luna Station. Dr. Kim believes he's detected an artificial object in our solar system." Park was already reaching for her uniform. "Has this been confirmed?" 3. Separate sensor arrays have verified the readings. Whatever it is, it's big, it's clearly artificial, and it's been sitting there for at least 72 hours. Park felt her pulse quicken. After 20 years of preparation, of planning for every possible scenario, the moment had finally arrived. "Activate Protocol 1. I want all department heads in the Situation Room in 30 minutes and get me a direct line to the president. Back on the cloaked Kethvar ship, Veltar was making his final preparations. He had selected his smallest vessel for the initial contact, a ship that by Confederation standards was ancient and primitive, powered by conventional fusion drives rather than their quantum warp technology. To human eyes, it would still seem incredibly advanced, but it wouldn't reveal the true extent of Kethvar capabilities. "Sir," reported his communications officer, "the humans are becoming more active. Their electromagnetic communications have increased by 300% in the last hour." Veltar nodded. "They know we're here. Impressive sensors for such a young species." He moved to his command chair, a decision forming in his mind. "Prepare to decloak. Signal the fleet to maintain safe distance and remain hidden." "Sir, are you certain?" The Council's orders were to observe their reaction first. "The Council's orders were to make contact when appropriate," Veltar corrected. "These humans are clearly aware of our presence. Further hiding would be dishonest." The ship shuddered slightly as its cloaking field deactivated. For the first time in over 4 decades, a Kethvar vessel became visible to human sensors. On Luna Station, alarms began sounding immediately. Dr. Kim watched his instruments in amazement as a ship nearly 200 meters long suddenly appeared on his screens. Its design was unlike anything humans had ever imagined. Smooth curves and flowing lines that seemed to blend engineering with art. "This is Luna Station calling unknown vessel," Kim broadcast on all frequencies. "Please identify yourself. We are peaceful and wish to communicate." The response came in perfect Korean, then repeated in English, Mandarin, and dozens of other Earth languages. The voice was strange, musical in a way that human voices could never be, but the meaning was clear. "Greetings, people of Earth. I'm Commander Veltar of the Kethvar Confederation. We come in peace and friendship. We have been watching your remarkable progress with great interest." Park Hae-jin listened to the transmission from the Emergency Command Center deep beneath Geneva. Around her, representatives from every major nation sat in stunned silence. First contact protocols called for careful, measured responses, but the EOE reality was overwhelming. "Commander Veltar," Park spoke into her microphone. "This is Park Hae-jin, representing the governments of Earth. We welcome you to our solar system and thank you for your peaceful approach. We too desire friendship and understanding between our peoples." What followed was the most important conversation in human history. Over the next several hours, basic information was exchanged. The Kethvar revealed that they represented a confederation of 7 different species, all working together in peaceful cooperation. Earth, they explained, had caught their attention because of humanity's rapid technological advancement and unique approach to problem solving. Veltar was careful to mention only their older technologies. He spoke of fusion power, of conventional, faster-than-light travel that took weeks to cross between star systems, of basic energy weapons and defensive shields. He painted a picture of the Confederation as advanced but not impossibly so, perhaps 200 or 300 years ahead of human technology. What he didn't mention were the quantum warp drives that could cross the galaxy in days, the matter converters that could transform any element into any other, or the consciousness transfer technology that had made the Kethvar functionally immortal. These secrets would remain hidden until the Council decided humanity was ready. Dr. Kim found himself assigned as the primary scientific liaison, while Park coordinated the political aspects of contact. Both humans were impressed by Kethvar courtesy and their apparent desire for genuine friendship. The aliens seemed genuinely interested in human culture, asking detailed questions about art, music, literature, and philosophy. "We have much to learn from each other," Veltar told them during their 3rd day of communication. "Your species has accomplished in 2 centuries what took most Confederation members many times longer. We would be honored to share some of our knowledge with you in exchange for learning about your unique perspectives." Park felt hope growing in her chest. Perhaps first contact wouldn't be the disaster so many had feared. Perhaps humanity had found not conquerors but teachers and friends. She had no idea that everything the aliens had told them was carefully calculated deception designed to hide technologies that would make human science seem primitive by comparison. The real test was just beginning. 3 weeks after first contact, the HFY delegation arrived at Earth's orbital station with their gifts of friendship. Technology Exchange Officer Tolmesh carried with him carefully selected devices that represented what his people considered safe to share. Everything had been approved by the Confederation Council, and everything was deliberately outdated. The humans had prepared the largest conference room on Orbital Station Prime for the meeting. Representatives from every major nation sat around a massive circular table, with Dr. Kim Dae-ho and Park Hye-jin leading the scientific and diplomatic teams. The excitement in the room was obvious. Humanity was about to receive its first alien technology. Tolmesh was younger than Commander Veltar, with the same pale blue skin and large dark eyes. But where Veltar moved with the confidence of age and experience, Tolmesh seemed nervous. This was his first contact with a new species, and the weight of deception made him uncomfortable. "Honored friends of Earth," Tolmesh began, his translated voice carrying formal tones. "The Confederation is pleased to offer these tokens of our friendship. We hope they will help your people advance in peaceful ways." He gestured to his assistants, who brought forward several metallic cases. Inside were devices that looked impossibly advanced to human eyes, smooth surfaces that seemed to flow like liquid metal, controls that responded to touch with no visible buttons or switches, power sources that hummed with barely contained energy. "These are basic warp drive components," Tolmesh explained, opening the first case. "Our simplest faster-than-light technology. With these, your ships could travel between star systems in a matter of weeks rather than years." Lee Jae-sung, Earth's leading propulsion engineer, leaned forward to get a better look. At 38, he had designed most of humanity's current spacecraft engines, and his eyes were bright with curiosity. "May we examine these more closely?" "Of course," Tolmesh replied. "We encourage learning. However, I must warn you that this technology is quite complex. Most species in the Confederation require decades to fully understand even these basic principles." Lee nodded politely, but privately he was already forming theories about how the devices might work. The human engineering team had spent weeks studying every piece of data the HFY had shared about their technology. They had models, simulations, and hypotheses ready to test. Cho Min-seo, Earth's lead xenotechnology researcher, was equally fascinated by the second case. It contained what Tolmesh described as basic energy manipulation devices, shields, power converters, and communication arrays that could function across interstellar distances. To the HFY, these were museum pieces. To humans, they represented a leap forward of centuries. "We are deeply honored by your trust," Park Hye-jin said formally. "Earth scientists will study these gifts with great care and respect." What she didn't add was that Earth scientists had already been studying them. The moment the HFY had shared basic specifications 3 weeks ago, human research teams around the world had begun theoretical analysis. Universities, corporations, and government laboratories had been working around the clock to understand the principles behind alien technology. This was something the Confederation had never encountered before. Most species they contacted were grateful to receive finished technology and spent decades learning to use it properly. Humans seemed determined to understand how everything worked from the ground up. Tolmesh completed his presentation and prepared to leave, expecting the humans to spend months just figuring out how to turn the devices on. Instead, Lee Jae-sung made an unexpected request. "Would it be possible for our teams to visit your ship? We learn better when we can see technology in its proper context." Tolmesh hesitated. The ship they had brought was their oldest and most primitive, but it was still far more advanced than anything humans had built. "I suppose that would be acceptable. However, many systems are quite complex." "We understand," Lee said with a smile that Tolmesh found oddly confident. "We just want to learn." 2 days later, the human engineering team boarded the HFY vessel. What they saw amazed them. Corridors that seemed to bend space itself, control systems that responded to thought as much as touch, and at the ship's heart, the warp drive that had brought them across impossible distances. But while the humans appeared suitably impressed, They were also doing something the HFY didn't expect. They were asking very specific, very technical questions about energy ratios, field harmonics, and quantum resonance patterns. Questions that suggested they understood far more about the underlying physics than should have been possible. "How do you maintain field stability during transition?" Lee asked, studying the drive core with intense focus. The HFY engineer assigned to guide them, a young technician named Korthek, answered automatically, before realizing what the question implied. "We use quantum field dampeners to prevent cascade failure during dimensional shifting." Lee nodded and made notes on his tablet. "And the power requirements for maintaining those dampeners?" Korthek found himself drawn into an increasingly technical discussion that revealed the human's understanding was advancing at an alarming rate. Within hours, Lee was asking questions that Korthek had to think carefully about to answer. Meanwhile, back on Earth, Chomin Seo's team had begun their own analysis of the gifted devices. They approached the task with typical human thoroughness. They took everything apart. "Dr. Cho," her assistant called from across the laboratory, "you need to see this." Minseo hurried over to where her team had completely disassembled one of the HFY power converters. Instead of trying to understand it as a complete system, they had identified every component, measured every circuit, and mapped every energy pathway. "Look at this." Her assistant pointed to a crystalline component at the device's center. "This isn't actually generating power. It's converting dimensional energy into usable electricity. The real breakthrough isn't the converter itself, it's the dimensional access technology." Minseo felt her pulse quicken. If humans could understand how to access dimensional energy directly, they wouldn't need the HFY converters. They could build their own, potentially better ones. "How long to create a working prototype?" she asked. "Give us 2 weeks," came the confident reply. This was not going according to plan. Tolmesh had expected the humans to spend months just learning to operate the gifted technology. Instead, they seemed to be reverse engineering everything at impossible speed. Their questions were becoming more sophisticated each day, and some of their theoretical models were approaching areas the HFY considered classified. He sent a concerned message to Commander Veltar, who was monitoring the situation from a safe distance. "Sir, the humans are progressing faster than anticipated. Much faster." Veltar reviewed Tolmesh's reports with growing unease. The human approach to technology was unlike anything in Confederation records. Most species learned gradually, building understanding step by step. Humans seemed to tear everything apart and rebuild it from first principles, often in ways the original designers hadn't considered. "Continue the exchange as planned," Veltar replied, "but monitor their progress closely. If they approach restricted areas of knowledge, we may need to intervene." Back on Earth, Lee Jae-sung's team had returned from their ship visit with detailed scans and measurements of every system they had been allowed to examine. Combined with the devices Tolmesh had provided, they now had enough data to begin serious reverse engineering work. "The drive system is actually quite elegant," Lee explained to his team during their evening briefing. "It's creating a localized distortion in space-time that allows the ship to essentially fall toward its destination faster than light can travel through normal space." "Can we replicate it?" asked his deputy, Engineer Park Jinwoo. "The principle is sound," Lee replied, "but I think we can do better than their implementation. Look at these field equations. They're using a brute force approach that wastes enormous amounts of energy. With some refinements to the harmonic frequencies, we could probably achieve the same effect with half the power requirements." What Lee didn't realize was that he was describing improvements to technology the HFY had deliberately made inefficient. The basic warp drive they had shared was actually a deliberately crippled version of their real technology, designed to be impressive but not too revealing. By accidentally making it more efficient, humans were approaching the performance levels of technology the Confederation considered military secrets. Dr. Minseo's team made their breakthrough first. 12 days after receiving the HFY devices, they successfully powered up their first human-built dimensional energy converter. Not only did it worked better than the original. "How is this possible?" Minseo wondered aloud as she watched their prototype generate more power than the HFY device while using smaller components. Her assistant grinned. We optimized the crystal matrix structure and improved the field alignment. Turns out the aliens built theirs with a lot of redundant systems. Minseo felt a mixture of pride and confusion. Surely beings who could travel between stars would have optimized their technology better than humans could in less than 2 weeks. What she didn't know was that the HFY had deliberately included inefficiencies to hide their true capabilities. By removing those inefficiencies, humans, Dr. Yoon So-ra, had always been fascinated by the impossible. As Earth's leading quantum physicist, she had spent her career studying theoretical concepts that most people couldn't even pronounce. When the HFY technology arrived, she saw it as the greatest puzzle of her lifetime. While her colleagues focused on reverse engineering the alien devices, So-ra took a different approach. She wanted to understand the fundamental principles that made faster-than-light travel possible. The HFY had shared basic equations in theory, but So-ra suspected there was much more to discover. Computer, display quantum field analysis 847 beta, she commanded her laboratory's AI system. The holographic display showed her latest theoretical model, a mathematical framework that attempted to explain how the HFY warp drives actually functioned. What she saw made her heart race. The alien equations weren't just describing faster-than-light travel, they were describing something far more advanced. The field harmonics are all wrong, she muttered, adjusting parameters in her model. These drives should be creating quantum resonance cascades that would tear apart normal spacetime. But they weren't. Somehow the HFY had found a way to prevent those cascades while still achieving faster-than-light travel. So-ra began running calculations, trying to understand how such control was possible. The answer, when it came, was stunning. The aliens weren't just bending spacetime. They were manipulating the quantum vacuum itself, creating localized zones where the speed of light was effectively infinite. It was theoretical physics made real, concepts that human scientists had only dreamed about. Dr. Yoon, her research assistant, called from across the laboratory. You're going to want to see this. So-ra looked up from her calculations to find her assistant, physicist, Dr. Nam Ki-jun, staring at his computer screen with wide eyes. What is it? I've been analyzing the harmonic frequencies in the alien drive system, Ki-jun explained. If we adjust the quantum field modulation by just 3%, we should be able to eliminate the dimensional stability problems entirely. So-ra hurried over to examine his work. What she saw confirmed her worst fears and greatest hopes. Ki-jun had accidentally discovered the theoretical foundation for true quantum warp technology, the same advanced systems the HFY were desperately trying to hide. How long would it take to build a test prototype, she asked quietly, with Engineer Bei's team helping us? Maybe 6 weeks. Meanwhile, Engineer Bei Tae-hyun was having his own breakthrough. Unlike the theoretical physicists, Bei was focused on practical applications. He had taken apart every piece of HFY technology his team could get their hands on, and what he found troubled him. These devices are deliberately inefficient, he told his engineering team during their morning briefing. Look at these power coupling systems. They're using materials that create unnecessary resistance, and these field generators are operating at maybe 60% of their theoretical maximum. His deputy engineer, Ko Sung-min, frowned. Why would they do that? I don't know, Bei replied. But I intend to find out. We're going to rebuild every system from scratch, using proper materials and optimal configurations. What Bei didn't realize was that he was about to accidentally recreate technology the Confederation classified as military secrets. The inefficiencies he had identified were deliberate safeguards designed to hide the true capabilities of HFY systems. On the HFY monitoring station, scientist Kralvex was growing increasingly worried. His job was to observe human technological progress and report any concerning developments to the Council. What he was seeing defied all expectations. The humans have achieved 87% efficiency in their dimensional energy converters, he reported to Commander Veltar. That should be impossible with the technology we provided, Veltar studied the report with growing alarm. Are you certain of these measurements? I've checked them 12 times, sir. The humans aren't just learning our technology. They're perfecting it. Their warp field equations are approaching theoretical maximums that took our people 3 centuries to achieve. The commander felt both of his hearts sink. The deception was failing in the worst possible way. Instead of keeping humans safely behind in technological development, they were accidentally giving them the foundation to surpass Confederation capabilities. Continue monitoring, he ordered, and prepare a priority message to the Council. Back on Earth, Dr. Sora's team had moved from theory to practice. Working with Engineer Bay's group, they had begun construction of humanity's first true quantum warp drive. The design incorporated all of their improvements to the alien technology, plus several innovations of their own. The field stability is remarkable, Sora observed as they ran their first full power test. We're maintaining quantum coherence across a 3-meter field radius with no fluctuation. Bay nodded with satisfaction. The efficiency improvements were the key. Once we eliminated all the unnecessary power losses, everything else fell into place. What neither scientist realized was that their improvements had resulted in a warp drive that exceeded the performance of any ship in the Kethvar fleet. They had accidentally created military-grade technology while trying to understand what they thought were basic civilian systems. The test results were beyond impressive. The human prototype could generate warp fields with twice the stability and 3 times the efficiency of the advanced technology the Kethvar had shared. Theoretical calculations suggested it could cross the distance between Earth and the nearest star system in just 4 days. We should share these results with our Kethvar friends, Sora suggested. They'll be excited to see how we've improved their designs, Bay agreed enthusiastically. They've been so generous with their knowledge. It's only fair that we share our discoveries. Neither human understood that their discoveries were actually recreations of the Confederation's most closely guarded secrets. They thought they were being good neighbors by improving on basic technology. In reality, they were demonstrating capabilities that would terrify the alien leadership. Talmesh received the human request for a meeting with growing dread. The message from Dr. Sora was polite and excited, describing significant improvements to Kethvar technology and requesting permission to demonstrate their progress. Everything about the communication suggested the humans had no idea how dangerous their research had become. Sir, he transmitted to Commander Veltar, the humans wish to show us their modifications to our technology. Based on their energy signatures, I believe they have achieved near-perfect quantum field stability. Veltar's response was immediate and alarmed. That's impossible. Perfect field stability requires quantum manipulation technology we've never shared with anyone outside the Confederation. Nevertheless, sir, their readings are consistent with military-grade warp systems. They appear to have reverse-engineered principles we considered impossible for them to understand. The implications were staggering. If humans had achieved military-grade warp technology in just 2 months, what else might they be capable of? How long before they began asking questions about other Confederation technologies? How long before they realized they had been deceived? On Earth, the human research teams were preparing for what they considered a friendly demonstration. They had no idea their alien guests were experiencing something close to panic. To human eyes, they had simply made some engineering improvements to generous gifts from friendly neighbors. Dr. Sora put the finishing touches on her presentation, eager to share humanity's gratitude for Kethvar generosity. Engineer Bay double-checked all systems on their prototype drive, proud of the elegant solutions his team had developed. Both humans looked forward to deepening the friendship between their species through shared scientific achievement. What they had actually done was demonstrate that humanity possessed a unique and terrifying talent for technological advancement. In trying to understand alien science, they had accidentally surpassed it. In attempting to improve basic systems, they had recreated military secrets. In seeking to learn from their teachers, they had become a potential threat to everything the Confederation thought they understood about technological development. The stage was set for a revelation that would change everything. The humans thought they were sharing improvements with friends. The Kethvar knew they were witnessing the emergence of a species that could challenge the balance of power in the galaxy. Neither side was prepared for what would happen when the truth finally came to light. Kralvex completed his final measurements and sent his most urgent report yet to the Confederation Council. The humans have achieved quantum warp capabilities equivalent to our most advanced systems. They appear to have done this accidentally, while attempting to optimize what they believe is basic technology. Recommend immediate council session to determine response. The response from High Counselor Ethamara was swift and worried. All monitoring stations are to maintain full stealth protocols. Under no circumstances are the humans to learn the true extent of their achievement. We need time to determine how to handle this situation. But time was running out. In just 3 days, the humans would demonstrate their improved technology to their Kethvar friends. Neither species realized they were about to. Admiral Song Yunji had seen many historic moments in her 40-year military career, but nothing had prepared her for this day. As head of Earth's Space Technology Command, she was about to witness humanity's first demonstration of improved alien technology. The excitement among her staff was infectious, but Song felt an odd undercurrent of nervousness she couldn't explain. "Admiral," reported her aide, Lieutenant Commander Park Min-ho, "the Kethvar delegation has arrived. They're requesting permission to board the research station." Song nodded, straightening her dress uniform. "Grant them full honors. This is a historic day for human-alien cooperation." What she didn't know was that the Kethvar delegation was experiencing emotions much closer to terror than excitement. High Counselor Morgeth had arrived personally, along with a team of the Confederation's most senior scientists and military advisors. They came not to celebrate human achievement, but to assess what might be the most dangerous development in galactic history. Morgeth was ancient even by Kethvar standards, having lived for over 800 years. In all that time, he had never encountered a situation like this. The reports from their monitoring team suggested that humans had accidentally achieved technological capabilities that threatened the entire balance of power in their region of the galaxy. "Remember," he instructed his team as their shuttle approached the human station, "we must not reveal our concern. These humans believe they have made simple improvements to basic technology. They must continue to believe that." Chief Engineer Han Woo-jin was practically bouncing with excitement as he made final preparations for the demonstration. His team had worked around the clock for weeks to prepare their presentation, eager to show their alien friends how much they appreciated the gift of advanced technology. "Dr. Yoon, are the field generators ready?" he called across the massive laboratory. "All systems are optimal," Sora replied from her control station. "We're maintaining perfect quantum coherence across the entire test field." Han grinned. If someone had told him 6 months ago that he would be casually discussing quantum field manipulation, he would have laughed. Now it seemed as natural as discussing conventional engines. Humanity's ability to adapt to new concepts never ceased to amaze him. "Engineer Bay, how are our power systems?" "Running at 98% efficiency," Bay called back. "We've eliminated almost all the energy losses that were present in the original designs." What none of the humans realized was that those energy losses had been carefully designed safety features intended to prevent exactly the kind of performance they were about to demonstrate. The Kethvar delegation entered the laboratory in a state of carefully controlled panic. Morgeth's enhanced senses immediately detected the quantum field signatures that confirmed their worst fears. The humans hadn't just improved basic warp technology. They had recreated the most advanced propulsion systems in the Confederation fleet. "Honored friends," Admiral Song greeted them with a warm smile. "Welcome to Research Station Alpha. We are excited to share our progress with you." Morgeth forced his features into what he hoped resembled pleased interest. "We are eager to see what your people have accomplished." Han stepped forward, his enthusiasm obvious. "High Counselor, we cannot thank you enough for the generous gifts your people have shared with us. Your basic warp drive technology has opened up possibilities we never dreamed of." The word basic hit Morgeth like a physical blow. These humans thought they had been given basic technology. They had no idea they were working with systems the Confederation considered classified military hardware. "We have made several improvements to the original designs," Sora added, consulting her tablet. "Nothing major. Just some efficiency optimizations and field stability enhancements." Engineer Bay nodded enthusiastically. The original power coupling systems were quite inefficient. We managed to improve energy transfer by almost 300%, simply by using better materials and cleaner field geometries. The HFY, scientists exchanged worried glances. A 300% improvement in power efficiency would result in warp capabilities that exceeded their best military vessels. These humans had accidentally created a weapons system while thinking they were improving a civilian transport drive. Perhaps, Morgeth suggested carefully, you could show us these improvements? Of course, Han replied. We've prepared a full demonstration. You'll be amazed at what your basic technology is capable of with just a few modifications. The humans led their alien guests to the observation deck overlooking the test chamber. Below them, a prototype warp drive hummed with barely contained energy. To human eyes, it looked like the ultimate expression of engineering elegance. To the HFY, it looked like their darkest nightmares made real. We'll start with a low-power test, Sora announced, her fingers dancing across the control interface. Just enough to demonstrate field stability and harmonic resonance. The drive activated, and space itself seemed to bend around the test chamber. The quantum field signatures were perfect, more perfect than anything the Confederation had ever achieved. The humans had not only recreated advanced warp technology, they had perfected it. Remarkable, whispered Kralvex, the HFY scientist who had been monitoring human progress. The field coherence is absolute. How did they achieve such precision? Simple, mathematics, Sora replied proudly. Once we understood the underlying quantum principles, optimizing the field equations was straightforward. Your people did the hard work of discovering the basic theory. We just cleaned up the implementation. Morgeth felt his ancient heart skip several beats. The humans thought quantum warp theory was straightforward. They had casually solved mathematical problems that had taken the Confederation's greatest minds centuries to work through. Now for the real demonstration, Han announced. We're going to show you what your technology can really do with proper optimization. He nodded to his team, and the power levels began climbing. The prototype drive generated fields that would have been impossible with the basic technology the HFY had supposedly shared. Within minutes, they were maintaining warp capabilities that exceeded the flagship of the Confederation fleet. Theoretical calculations suggest this drive could cross interstellar distances in just days rather than weeks, Bay explained proudly. We've essentially eliminated all the performance limitations of the original design. Those limitations had been the only thing preventing humans from possessing technology that could threaten every established power in the galaxy. By removing them, humanity had accidentally armed itself with weapons-grade propulsion systems. This is most impressive, Morgeth managed to say, his voice carefully controlled. How long did it take your people to achieve these results? About 6 weeks from initial analysis to working prototype, Han replied casually. We had teams working around the clock, of course. Human engineers get excited about new challenges. 6 weeks. The HFY had spent centuries developing this technology, and humans had recreated and improved it in 6 weeks. The implications were staggering. We were hoping you could help us understand some of the more advanced applications, Sora added. Now that we understand the basic principles, we're curious about what other technologies might use similar quantum manipulation techniques. The question sent chills through the entire HFY delegation. These humans had identified the fundamental principles underlying most of the Confederation's advanced technology. They were asking about applications that could include planet-killing weapons, consciousness transfer systems, and matter conversion technologies. Perhaps, Morgeth said carefully, we should discuss these matters with our council before exploring more advanced applications. Admiral Song noticed the change in the aliens' demeanor. Where they had seemed pleased at the beginning of the demonstration, now they appeared almost frightened. That seemed impossible. Surely beings advanced enough to travel between stars wouldn't be intimidated by human engineering improvements. Is something wrong? She asked with concern. Have we violated some protocol? We certainly don't want to cause any problems. No problems, Morgoth replied quickly. We are simply impressed by the speed of your progress. It is quite remarkable. What he didn't say was that it was also terrifying. In trying to hide their advanced technology from humans, they had accidentally provided them with the foundation to develop it independently. Worse, humanity's unique approach to technological development meant they had improved systems the Confederation thought were already optimized. We would very much like to share these improvements with your people, Han offered generously. You've been so generous with your knowledge. It's only fair that we contribute something in return. The offer of technological sharing that would have delighted any other species filled the Kethvar with dread. These humans were offering to give them their own technology back, improved beyond anything they had thought possible. That is very generous, Morgoth replied, trying to maintain diplomatic composure while his mind raced through the implications. We will need to consult with our technical teams about the best way to implement such exchanges. What he really meant was that the Confederation Council needed an emergency session to decide how to handle a species that had accidentally become more technologically advanced than to President Kang Yu-jin had been in emergency session with her cabinet for 18 hours straight. The reports coming from the research station defied everything Earth's leaders thought they understood about their relationship with the Kethvar. According to her scientific advisors, humanity had somehow advanced beyond their alien teachers in just 2 months. Ma'am, her chief science advisor reported, our teams have confirmed that our warp drive prototypes are generating field effects that exceed anything the Kethvar have demonstrated. Either they've been hiding their true capabilities, or we've accidentally surpassed them. President Kang rubbed her tired eyes. At 55, she had led Earth through first contact in the early stages of human-alien cooperation. Now it seemed that cooperation was based on carefully managed deception. What's the assessment from our xenopsychology team? She asked. The Kethvar delegation's behavior yesterday suggests they were surprised, possibly even alarmed, by our technological progress. They're being very careful about what information they share now. Dr. Lim Hyun-woo, Earth's leading expert on interspecies relations, leaned forward in his chair. Ma'am, I believe we need to consider the possibility that our alien friends have been deliberately limiting the technology they share with us. The implications were staggering. If the Kethvar had been holding back their true capabilities, it meant the relationship between the two species was built on fundamental dishonesty. But it also suggested that humanity had achieved something remarkable. They had independently developed advanced technology that matched or exceeded their teachers. Meanwhile, in the Confederation Council chambers 3 light-years away, Supreme Chancellor Ethmara was facing the greatest crisis of her 1,000-year reign. The emergency session had been running for days with representatives from all 7 Confederation species debating how to handle what everyone now called the human situation. The facts are undeniable, reported Chief Science Advisor Velketh. In 2 months, these humans have achieved technological capabilities that took our civilization centuries to develop. Worse, they've done it accidentally while trying to improve what they thought was basic technology. Commander Veltar, who had overseen first contact, stood to address the assembly. Honored counselors, I believe we must acknowledge that our deception has failed. We attempted to hide our advanced technology to maintain control over the contact process. Instead, we provided humans with enough information to develop that technology independently. And they've improved it, added Morgoth grimly. Their warp drive designs exceed our best military systems. Their understanding of quantum manipulation suggests they could develop any of our technologies given sufficient time. The debate that followed was intense. Some council members argued for immediate military action to prevent humans from becoming a threat. Others suggested complete withdrawal from Earth, hoping to contain the situation by ending all contact. A few radical voices even proposed sharing all Confederation technology openly, believing that trying to maintain superiority was now impossible. The question, declared Supreme Chancellor Ethmara, is whether humanity represents a threat to be contained or an opportunity to be embraced. Back on Earth, Dr. Lim was proposing a similar question to President Kang. Ma'am, we have 3, Options. We can confront the Kethvar about their deception, we can pretend we don't know and continue as before, or we can try to turn this situation into something positive for both species. President Kang considered the options carefully. As a former diplomat, she understood that relationships built on deception rarely lasted, but she also knew that accusing their alien friends of dishonesty could destroy any chance of future cooperation. "What does option 3 look like?" she asked. Dr. Lim smiled. "We approach them openly. We acknowledge that both sides have been less than completely honest. They've hidden their advanced technology. We've hidden how quickly we were understanding it. Then we propose starting over with complete transparency." It was a risky strategy, but it appealed to President Kang's diplomatic instincts. Draft a proposal. If we're going to do this, we need to do it right. The message from Earth reached the Confederation Council just as their debate was reaching its most heated point. President Kang's communication was direct and surprisingly understanding. "Honored friends of the Confederation," the message began, "we believe there have been misunderstandings between our peoples. Our scientists have achieved capabilities that seem to have surprised your representatives. We suspect this is because both sides have been less than completely open about their true abilities and intentions." The council chamber fell silent as the message continued. "We propose a new beginning. Earth is willing to share all of our technological developments openly and completely in exchange for honest cooperation from the Confederation. We believe both our peoples have much to gain from genuine partnership rather than managed contact." Supreme Chancellor Ethamara felt something she hadn't experienced in centuries: hope mixed with fear. The humans were offering exactly what many council members had secretly wanted but none had dared suggest. "They're proposing to give us their improvements to our own technology," whispered Science Advisor Velketh, "freely, with no conditions except honesty in return." Commander Veltar stood again. "Honored Chancellor, I have spent months observing these humans. Their approach to technology is unlike anything we have encountered, but so is their approach to cooperation. They genuinely seem to value partnership over dominance. The vote, when it came, was closer than anyone expected. By a narrow margin, the Council chose cooperation over confrontation. They would reveal the truth about Confederation technology and accept humanity's offer of genuine partnership." The second first contact took place 3 weeks later, not in the sterile environment of a space station, but in the gardens of the Confederation's most beautiful colony world. President Kang led the human delegation, accompanied by Dr. Lim and the scientists who had made the breakthrough discoveries. Supreme Chancellor Ethamara greeted them personally, her ancient features showing both dignity and uncertainty. "President Kang, we come to you with honesty and regret. Our people have not been truthful about our capabilities. Nor have we been entirely truthful about ours," President Kang replied gently. "Perhaps we can do better going forward." What followed was the most remarkable exchange in galactic history. The Kethvar revealed technologies that seemed like magic to human eyes: matter conversion systems, consciousness transfer devices, weapons that could crack planets, and healing technologies that made death itself optional. In return, humans shared something equally valuable: their unique approach to understanding and improving technology. They demonstrated how their reverse engineering methods could identify inefficiencies and optimization opportunities that escaped even the original designers. "Your quantum warp drives," explained Dr. Sora during one technical session, "are remarkably sophisticated, but they're using harmonic frequencies that create unnecessary dimensional stress. With some adjustments to the field modulation, we could improve efficiency by 40% while reducing wear on the drive components." The Kethvar engineer she was speaking to stared in amazement. "Those drives have been in service for 300 years. Our best technicians have maintained them perfectly." "Oh, they're beautifully maintained," Sora assured him. "But the original design has some theoretical limitations that can be overcome with modern materials and improved field equations." This became the pattern of their cooperation. The Confederation possessed technologies beyond human imagination, but humans possessed insights that could improve those technologies in ways their creators had never considered. It was, as Dr. Lim observed, a perfect partnership. The transformation was remarkable. Within a year, joint human Kethvar research teams were developing technologies that neither species could have created alone. Human creativity and analytical methods combined with Confederation knowledge and experience produced breakthroughs that advanced galactic civilization by centuries. The warp drives that had started the crisis became symbols of cooperation. Human-improved Confederation technology allowed ships to cross the galaxy in days rather than weeks, opening up possibilities for exploration and communication that had been impossible before. But the greatest change was cultural. The Confederation's paternalistic approach to contact with new species was replaced by genuine partnership. Humans weren't treated as junior members to be carefully managed. They were recognized as equals with unique contributions to offer. Commander Veltar, now serving as liaison between the species, often reflected on the irony of their situation. "We tried to hide our technology to maintain control," he told his old friend Morgeth. "Instead, we discovered that sharing everything openly made us both stronger." The human approach to technology had taught the Confederation something they had forgotten over millennia of advanced civilization. That progress came not from jealously guarding knowledge, but from combining different perspectives and approaches. President Kang, now in her second term, often hosted diplomatic